All right, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Mainly Hoops podcast, where we're covering the SEC transfer portal. Before we get started, if you are liking what we got to say, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. But we're diving into Texas A&M today. They had a little bit of transfers, a little bit of moves in the offseason. We're going to start it off with Marcus. Who's your favorite get they got?
I would have to say Jakari Lane coming over from North Alabama. Last year averaged like 17 points, shot it well from three. He was over 40%, I believe, on high volume, like 170 attempts almost. But more than that, right? He's got a 22% assist rate. Quick first step, like he's able to get downhill pretty quickly. I think that'll translate quite well. 53% at the rim. He's a bit undersized, so that is a little bit of a concern in the SEC. He is only 6 feet, 182. But I think he's probably their best get just because of his ability to create his own shot. He's got deep range. Last year hit several threes from well beyond the arc, beyond 25 feet. So, I think he's an all right on-ball defender. Had almost a 2.5% steal rate. But other than that, I think he's just a solid get for them, considering like new coach coming over from Samford and Bucky McMillan. He was fun in the ASUN. But I don't know. We'll have to wait and see, I guess, how he translates to SEC play.
Cody, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I would agree. I think it's more 1A, 1B with Jakari Lane and Pop Isaacs. I mean, I think they're going to be fairly similar impacts for Bucky McMillan in year one. Jakari Lane, more of a, perimeter reliant off the bounce. I mean, he shot 39.3% from three off the bounce last season, which is pretty impressive. Obviously, there were concerns with him inside the arc. I mean, he shot it, just 28% from the mid-range, and I think he's going to struggle to get to the rim consistently. Although, he has plus burst, his straight line driving ability is definitely there. The on-ball creativity stuff is kind of remains to be seen how that's going to translate to the SEC. But I do think he's going to be a real impact just because of the fit in Bucky McMillan's scheme that plays super fast. He's obviously going to fit in that regard. This team's probably going to be top 5 in the country in pace when it's all said and done. And he's going to be a big reason why. Just his ability to operate in the open floor is going to be huge. And then Pop Isaacs as well. I know we didn't see much from Pop Isaacs last season. He only played 6 or 7 games at Creighton, but he's a really talented shooter, and I think he's an underrated passer. I don't really think people talk about his playmaking all that much. He's another guy that isn't the greatest interior scorer. He really struggles at the rim. There's just that he lacks, physicality, I guess. He doesn't really initiate contact all that well, but when he gets in the lane, he can make some really creative passes. So I think they're Lane and Isaacs are fairly similar players that, are great shooting talents off the catch and off the bounce. And I think they're going to fit McMillan's scheme pretty well.
Any other transfers that stand out to you guys? Marcus, I'll let you go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, this is a whole new roster. So, there are quite a few guys that are going to obviously have to make an impact. One I'll touch on is Rylan Griffin. Not really sure what version of him that we're going to get. Last year transferred from Bama to Kansas. Expectations, I think, were pretty high, and especially after his shooting display that he had in the tournament the year prior. And that whole season, for that matter, he was, 189 attempts, shot it at 39%. Then last year took 67 less attempts, 122 attempts, and shot 33.6%. So quite a drop off there, 6 percentage points plus, less volume. So, not a great season from Griffin last year. Expectations were much higher. And I think Kansas fans were pretty frustrated. And, even not being a Kansas fan, some of the looks that they generated for him, that he just could not buy a bucket. So it remains to be seen what version of him we can get. If Texas A&M gets the Alabama version, like, he's going to be a very good addition for them if he can knock it down at 39-40%. But especially playing off of Lane and Isaacs, who, like we said, both can generate good looks, get into the lane and spray the ball out. So he should have plenty of opportunities here, especially early in the season. But if it's another case of like him struggling to make shots, it could be another tough season for Ryland Griffin fans.
Cody, any other transfers that stand out to you?
Yeah, I mean, for Ryland Griffin, I think playing in a more open system is going to be, it should help him a little bit more. It's going to be a fairly similar offensive style to what he played in at Alabama. So I think getting closer to that 39% mark is in the realm of possibilities. Just not all that high on him as a shooting talent overall. He's not really a great movement shooter, just more of a stationary shooter that really struggled last year at Kansas. And yeah, like Marcus said, I think more open looks will be created for him with Lane and Isaacs. But overall, I don't think he's going to be the greatest shooting impact on this roster. One guy I'm really intrigued by, though, is Mackenzie Mgbako. I think coming over from Indiana, I just think the shot diet being improved is going to be really important for his game. He kind of lived in the mid-range. He was kind of run off a lot of curl screens and took some jumpers in the mid-range off the catch. I think his game is really going to fan out to the three-point line with, Bucky McMillan really completely cutting out the mid-range game. I think his Samford team last year was just in the 4th percentile in mid-range shot attempts overall last season. So I'm pretty high on Mgbako's spot up and movement shooting overall. I think as a movement shooter, he was in the 83rd percentile, and that's with a lot of his shots coming in the mid-range. So I think there's real potential for him to get into the 95th, 96th percentile at least in this area, just because I think he gets his feet set really well with a consistent, quick and high release. Not all that high on the on-ball creation, but there are some other guys who can, like Lane and Isaacs, who are really going to help out in that area. I mean, he can handle the ball on the open floor and finish out the rim, but overall, he's going to be more of a floor spacer for this team and be that movement shooter in a half-court setting that this team is really going to need.
What can we expect from the Aggies this upcoming season? And maybe we'll go right into a ceiling and a floor. Marcus, we'll let you go first.
Yeah, before I do, I just want to touch on Mgbako and then a couple other guys real quick. I do agree with Cody. Like, Mgbako, I think, is a much better shooter than what his numbers have said. Like, he's been a 33% basically three-point shooter over his first 2 years at Indiana. I think he has much higher upside there. And with the looks that should be generated in this offense, I think he's going to – I wouldn't be shocked if he's much higher, much closer to like 38, 39. That might be a little aggressive, but I wouldn't be at all surprised. And then the other two I wanted to talk about, both guys that should be highly impactful on the glass, and in Federico coming over from Texas Tech, and then Rashawn Agee coming from USC. Federico, almost 4.5% block rate, lob threat, takes pretty much all of his shots at the rim. So not non-shooter, but as for Agee, like, he actually has some like stretch four abilities. Like, he has the ability to shoot the ball. He was a 39% three-point shooter last year. Solid passer at a 10% assist rate, and then he's in the double digits on both offensive and defensive glass rate. And then, I think he's a little bit underrated on the defensive end as well, like 4.3% block rate. And then offensively, a little bit of a slower release. He needs a little bit of space, but I think with these guards that are going to be able to get downhill in Isaacs and Lane, like, he should oftentimes have space to shoot it. So I like the impact that both these guys are going to be able to provide.
Cody, what do you think? What are the expectations from the Aggies? And you can talk a little bit more about the other transfers.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to say what the expectations are going to be. I mean, this is a complete roster turnover, a completely new program, really, and we're just not really sure how this, Bucky, what do you call it? They call it Bucky ball, right? I think how this Bucky ball scheme is really going to translate to SEC play or just translate to power conference play in general. I mean, we saw them in the tournament 2 years ago against Kansas, really give Kansas a run. Almost came back and won that game. That was a really controversial game, but just it's not gimmicky, but it's like he really pushes the envelope in certain areas. It really values the winning the extras, winning the turnover battle, winning on the offensive glass, just gaining extra possessions and just trying to, play as fast as possible, really, and really cut out mid-range attempts. He's really analytical with how he approaches the game. So it kind of remains to be seen how well, pushing the envelope this much is going to translate. I mean, obviously he has more talent than he's had at Samford. And I guess just to touch on Rashawn Agee and Federico a little bit, I think Agee is going to have an opportunity to play a lot of small ball 5. He played a lot of small ball 5 at USC last season, and that it really enhanced the USC offense over the course of the season. And like Marcus said, the shot release is a little bit slow, but when he has space in pick and pop situations, I think he can have a lot of success. Plus, he's really good on the offensive glass, like you stated. And Federico, a solid two-way rim presence he has been his entire career, and I don't really expect anything different. We kind of know what we're getting there. Not a ton of creation in his game, but he's going to be a solid rebounder, solid rim protector. He's going to do his job. But for the expectations, they just feel like a bubble team, kind of squarely on the bubble. They're gonna come up with a few huge wins next season, I believe, just with their style, how chaotic it can be at times. I think it's going to give some really good teams some issues. Teams that can't take care of the ball, they're really going to take advantage of that and ultimately win a few big games that they shouldn't as a 10+ point underdog. I could just see that happening. But overall, they just feel really bubblish to me.
Marcus, let's do your kind of final prediction and final thoughts, and then we'll wrap things up.
I agree. I think bubblish. I'm just gonna make a prediction. They're a 10 seed next year. Just feels like the number. I think they do get in. I do think they have enough talent. I think they have enough versatility. I think guys showcase a little bit more in this system, particularly offensively, than what they've shown previously, and I think that gets them in. But like Cody said, they win enough big games in the SEC. 10 seed, book it.
All right, I like it. Let's wrap it up for the Aggies. As always, thank you for listening to the Mainly Hoops podcast.